So, costumes. Getting costumes is one of my favorite parts of making videos, especially CK Productions videos. If you've been subscribed to the channel by now, you should know that we use a ton of costumes in our videos, tons of weird costumes, tons of crazy costumes like this one right here. And we also use a lot of props, from fake weapons, from this thing, just lots of stuff that we need to get for a lot of different videos. And while doing something like getting costumes and getting props might seem pretty simple to set up a video, it actually can sometimes be a bit of a complicated process. So today I'm going to be going over the process that we use for getting props and costumes for CK Productions videos, and I guess any videos in general. As always, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Brian. I'm the co-founder of CK Productions, and I host a show here where I post videos twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays, going over video production stuff, filmmaking tutorials, VFX breakdowns, CK Productions behind the scenes, everything. Be sure to like and subscribe, by the way. There's a couple of different steps we need to consider when picking out costumes for a video. First of all, and the most obvious one, is what costumes do we need? You know, we'll take a look at the script, if there is a script, or we'll just take a look at the concept of the video that we're looking for, and we gotta think, you know, what characters are in it. If we're doing it based off a video game, what video game characters are in it, what video game props are gonna be in it, what extra characters are gonna be in it, and do we have the costumes available to be able to fulfill those roles? And if we don't, we're gonna have to go out and get new ones, or make new ones in some instances. Another thing that we have to consider is, you know, how quote unquote weird or, you know, silly do the costumes have to be? Do they have to be something that might be a little bit more realistic, a little bit more true to form, I'd say, or can it be something silly like this? And most of the times for the kind of content that we do in CK Productions, silly like this usually works, because that's kind of where some of the comedy comes from. Once we kind of have a list of the costumes we want to have and, you know, whether or not they're going to be silly, we're going to have to consider the budget for these costumes and these props. That's where most of the budget for our CK videos goes into. Sort of have to think, you know, what is our target budget for this video? We kind of figure that out based on how many views we kind of anticipate this video getting, because how many views ends up getting equates to how much, you know, money that we're going to make off of the video. For example, if we make a video and we expect to maybe get 100,000 views over its lifetime, that will equate to roughly $200 or $300 in total revenue throughout the kind of the course of the video's life. So that means we shouldn't spend more than $200 or $300 on the costumes, or preferably less, so we can kind of, you know, make a profit on it. Because sometimes getting these costumes, especially if you have a lot of different characters in the video, the price of the costumes can go up pretty quickly. But if you're strategic enough, you can, you know, offset the cost of that by your view getting a lot of videos. Wow, your video is getting a lot of views. A big example I like to use is a video, maybe some of you guys haven't seen it because it's a little old. It's a Super Mario power-ups logic that we did several years ago. That video had a bunch of different costumes that were associated with, you know, including the famous frog costume that we used many times. And so for that video, we ended up spending, you know, a few $100s on costumes alone on it. And for something that we really weren't sure wasn't gonna get a ton of views. But because of you guys really helped us out here. We got hundreds of thousands of views on that video alone. And thus we made about $1,000 back on that video. Because of that, all that, we recouped the money that we spent, and we made a pretty good profit on it, which we were able to spend on stuff like this drone, you know, the new cameras, you know, computer software, and other costumes in the future. So we want to think, will this costume help kind of make back the money that we're thinking of spending for this video? And how long is this costume going to last in the future? That's another thing that we like to consider. We like to get costumes that we can reuse over and over and over again for different videos. We've used this mouse costume in at least 4 or 5 videos so far. And the cost of this costume, maybe like $30 or $40, has been, you know, recouped several times over. And this is kind of something to consider when we're thinking about the ideas for videos. We sometimes think about what costumes have we gotten over time, you know, because we have a whole bunch of costumes that we can use now. Maybe we can try to utilize a little bit more of the costumes that we have instead of going out and buying whole new ones, especially for, you know, a video that might be new, or a video that might not quite be on, you know, the typical video that we make. It might not make, you know, as many views or something like that. You don't want to go out and be spending hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars on each video on costumes and props and stuff, only if you know you're going to be recouping that cost. Because if you're spending you spend like $1,000 in props and these really pristine props and costumes and stuff like that, your video might look amazing and good, and that's awesome for sure, but You know, if you're not getting the views on that to recoup that, then, you know, you're not gonna have any money going forward to spend on other videos going forward. So in terms of where to find the best costumes, it's sometimes as simple as just going on Amazon and doing a search for whatever you're looking for, because there's a lot of different options for a lot of very specific things. You might not always have specific characters. If, you know, when we do like video game logic series and stuff like that, we might not always find the specific characters that we need, but we can sometimes find specific costume items that we can use to kind of build up the character in a sense. And the best thing about shopping on something like Amazon is if you have like a Prime account, there's a lot of costume pieces and a lot of props you can get in just 2-day shipping. Other websites, you know, like eBay and Etsy might have a little bit more specific things. You know, eBay is where we got the, you know, the power glove that we use for the Infinity War series. One thing to consider about eBay and Etsy though, you might be getting them from individual, you know, sellers instead of, you know, companies that make the costumes. So there might be shipping fees and you might not actually get the props in time. Example that we had, we bought a couple of different prop options for when we did the Flick costume in Animal Crossing Adventures. We had horns from him and checkered pants from him, but they didn't end up coming in time. They ended up coming a week later, actually. The costume didn't quite turn out the way that we wanted to, but, you know, it still looked pretty good in the end. Another option that you have is you can make your own costumes. If you're into cosplay, if you're very crafty, you can make a lot of your costumes and a lot of your props, and I think that's really great. I actually wish we made a little bit more of our costumes. It's a little tough for us because we have pretty busy schedules, and sometimes we don't have a lot of time to gather the props and the costumes that we need for a shoot, so we end up having to, you know, buy a lot of them online. Another good option is to go to costume stores or party stores. Around Halloween time is a great time to go look for costumes because there's lots of stuff out there that you can pick from, lots of costumes and lots of accessories. Party City is always a favorite for me because they have a lot of accessories and costumes, and they have them all year round too. The best time to go shopping for costumes, I'd say, is right after Halloween, because if you go right after Halloween, all the stuff is going to be on sale because they're trying to get rid of it. And there's gonna be plenty of stuff in there, you know, left over. We go around and see if there's stuff that we wanna use in the future. Like, oh, you know, this kind of fake weapon was gonna look cool. You know, oh, there's a video that we need this for coming up. Like, it's a really great time to go and look for costumes that you need. And last thing to kind of consider is to try to think of the quality of the costume, especially the props. If you're working with fake weapons, so there's stuff out there that are very expensive and it might be kind of fragile. On the other hand, if you get something that's very cheap, it also might be a little fragile if you're swinging around often. One example I like to give is when we did the Infinity War series, the hammers that I got for the ice climbers were not the most expensive hammers, and both of them ended up breaking on set, and we did not have backups for it. So sort of having to improvise and change the story a little bit, we were able to make it work, but it was something that, you know, caused a problem on set. So you wanna consider, you know, if you're a little bit too cheap on some things, then and if you're not careful with them, they can end up breaking. And then that's about all I have to say about costumes. You know, I think I might actually stay in this for a while. It's pretty comfy. What are some of your guys' favorite costumes that we've done over the years? I'd love to hear about them. And as always, feel free to comment down below with any more, you know, filmmaking tutorials, tips, tricks, and CK Productions behind the scenes you're looking for. As always, like I say, be sure to like and subscribe. I post videos here twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays. Maybe I'll up that to 3 times a week if you guys want to. Also, my Instagram is a thing if you want to check that out for more photography and personal projects that I do. And be sure to check out CK Productions as well. With that, I hope you have a nice week, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye, everyone.